Hello and welcome to this video. Thanks for joining me. Now we continue our series on developing confidence. In the past few videos, we've been talking about different strategies that can help us to develop the confidence that we need to lead our best lives, to achieve the very best outcomes, and to maximize our potential. Now, today we look at one very important aspect of this as I talk about how to deal with negative self-talk. How to deal with negative self-talk. So, what is negative self-talk? Now, negative self-talk is the conversation that goes on within your head, within your mind, that criticizes you, that undermines you, that doubts your ability, your competencies to be able to achieve things. So it is completely an inner dialogue that involves no one else but just you and yourself. And this is you telling yourself unconsciously that I'm not able, I'm not qualified, I don't have the qualifications, I cannot do this, others can, but I cannot. I always mess up, amongst other things. It is important to identify negative self-talk when it takes place, because otherwise it's got very debilitating effects and can constrain us from the necessary action that we can and we need to take to progress our lives. So, what causes this very important thing that can cause us to stagnate in life? Now, some of the causes include previous, sometimes childhood experience, where we can be exposed, for example, to harsh criticism. And when you've been criticized for so long, sometimes you accept it and then it becomes your lived reality. So, our past can be a big source of negative self-talk, childhood experience especially. And what this causes is that it makes you to not only doubt yourself, but you don't feel good about yourself. Others may include societal norms and expectations, what society expects you to do, peer pressure, when everybody around you does things in a certain way. That can lead to wrong comparisons, where sometimes you pick or you look at social media, for example, you're looking at people's pages and profiles, and it can make you feel that you're being left behind, and that it can be shattering and it's not very helpful. Emotional scars from previous relationships, for example, depending on what is going on, it can play a part in causing and developing negative self-talk in us. I've mentioned some of the effects that negative self-talk can have on us, but key amongst them include low self-esteem. So for people who have been criticized from their childhood, they sometimes find it difficult to make even simple decisions. When they've got all the information, they may doubt themselves and they may keep running it past somebody. That might demonstrate or show up as being polite, but at the bottom of that can be a low self-esteem that makes them find it difficult and hard to make even simple decisions. Closely linked to that is a lack of confidence. Sometimes people may act out bold, but deep within them would be a lack of confidence that makes them to talk to themselves negatively. Anxiety and stress can also be the result of negative self-talk. It can make you anxious, it can make you stressed. It can also impair decision making. I gave the example of people who have got low self-esteem, who sometimes struggle to make the simplest of decisions. And ultimately, what negative self-talk does is that you are able to talk yourself out of taking the action that will lift you out of certain circumstances and situations that you need to climb out of. Now, there are a few strategies that you can adopt to deal with this very and evil practice of negative self-talk that harms yourself, you talking yourself down, beating yourself down, and not able to make the right choices and the progress that you need. Now, one of the first and simplest strategies is to catch out and to identify negative self-talk when it happens. It is important that you reflect on things, that you analyze things critically, especially if you are not sure, before you take a step one action. But you must notice when the critical analysis or the right correct evaluation of circumstances leads to negative self-talk. That sort of pity party within yourself where you collect a few memories of things that you have happened to you that are bad, and that makes you feel that you cannot go forward. So you should be able to identify these and then to disrupt those patterns as they appear. Now, one motivational speaker has said that the mind can hold only one thought at a time. There are people who talk about multitasking and all, but at any single moment, your mind can hold and process and deal with one train of thought. So if it happens to be negative self-talk that is dominating, disrupt it with something nice. The Bible says, for those who read the Bible, that whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. So thinking about something nice, it can be a holiday destination or a holiday that you're looking to go to. Let's make it very simple. Just think about even some great food that you've either had before, a fantastic restaurant experience, for example. Just anything that can disrupt and interrupt the negative self-talk. Another strategy is to practice self-compassion. We all make mistakes in life. Very few people, if any, plan to make mistakes. Mistakes are a necessary part of life. You may have made some poor decisions in the past that might have had some consequences. Mistakes would have taken place in your past. You may have been dealing with the consequences, but don't beat yourself up over them. Let us learn the relevant experiences that we can pick from those mistakes and then to go ahead. Especially because you cannot undo the mistakes of yesterday. The only thing that you got control over is tomorrow, or even today and tomorrow and the next day. So what you can do is to not beat yourself, not to blame yourself too harshly, not to criticize yourself too much. But let the bygones be bygones. You can practice self-care activities that nurture your well-being. You may think about pampering yourself, whether if you can afford it, going to a spa, something that makes you feel good about yourself and not to dwell on past mistakes. Another strategy is to surround yourself with positive influences. I talked about and referred to the impact that sometimes our childhood experiences, the people around us can have on our lives, which can result in negative self-talk, which can undermine our confidence. The opposite of that would be to surround yourself with people who speak into your life positively. People who don't look out for the mistakes and the faults, but people who will catch you doing good and praise you doing good. People who are able to identify the small traits and the characteristics that make you a good person and compliment you for that. I'm not saying that you should surround yourself with praise singers who would tell you the wrong things even if you are doing the wrong thing. People who condone the wrong that you do. But people who are, genuinely able to find the good things in you and to encourage you for them. Along these same lines, you should also do your best to limit the influences of the negative influences, people who influence you negatively. If you can avoid people who criticize you, do that. If arguing with people is going to make you feel bad, don't enter into an argument. Now, someone says that it takes two to tango. It takes two to argue. If you take yourself out, there is no argument. So if you find that repeatedly there are certain people that you talk to, you engage in an argument, any interaction, and you leave feeling worse, wherever you can, avoid talking to these people if at all possible. If you can't, then you must minimize and limit the interaction with such people and opt rather to interact with people who would influence you positively and speak positive things into your life. The last strategy for dealing with negative self-talk is to remind yourself of your past achievements. Everybody has achieved something in life. The fact that you are even here today watching this is an achievement. Not everyone has made it to today. So you will find, if you look at tiny little accomplishments, that you can always find some inspiration from. And those accomplishments, those achievements in the past, however little, you should praise yourself for them. Because given the same circumstances, you are bound, if you have the confidence, you are bound to be able to replicate them and even more. In doing that, you should practice self-validation. Sometimes we are looking for external sources to validate our achievements. The world is such that everybody is looking after their interests. I know that there are people who are genuinely kind and interested in you, but there are not many people. If you find people who are genuinely interested, who would validate you, thank God for them. And by all means, I'd encourage you to be with them. But as is so common, if you cannot find people who validate your experiences, if you are in a relationship, if you are in an office, in a business, in a certain association where you don't find validation from external sources, then you must be your biggest and number one fan, your biggest cheerleader, and to praise yourself for your accomplishments. When you've done that, then if people can identify that and support it, it is a bonus. But even if they don't, you know that you are worth something and you are well able. It has been said, Louis L. Hayes says, and I quote, "You've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens." I'll end this video with this quote from Lisa Hayes, that be careful how you're talking to yourself because you are listening. Well, on this note, I want to thank you for watching this video. Your time with us is very important to us. If you found this video useful, then I will encourage you to subscribe to this channel and to click on the notification bell so that if and when we do issue new videos, you will get an alert. Please share this with your friends and family, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, and all the very best.